Hi, I'm Camille, and today I'm going to show you how to make a wire mandala. The supplies that you need are 36 pieces of copper wire, all cut to the same length. I'm cutting them 1 3/4 inch long, and I'm using 20 gauge brown colored copper wire. 2 strips of copper wire that you've cut to 4.5 inches long. These will make the circles of the mandala. 18 beads that have holes large enough to slip over this gauge of wire. And then 9 pieces of 24 gauge copper wire. It's about 1 inch long. I didn't really measure. Needle nose pliers and round nose pliers, regular wire cutters, and a ruler. So you will be working the mandala in 2 halves and then assembling them together. The first thing you'll need to do is take 9 of the little pieces of wire, and we've got to get a bend in them. Now you can either just bend them around your finger, try and make them all uniform, bend it in the middle, or if you have something that makes kind of a V shape and you want to use that to bend them around, you can do that. So I'm just going to take each of these. I'm going about halfway up my round nose pliers and just making a little bend over the end of each of the ends of the wire, like a little hook. So I'm going to be able to hook it onto the circle once the circle is assembled. And it's up to you. You can go ahead also and bend all 36 of your pieces like this if you want to right now. I just think it's easier if you bend them all in preparation instead of bending them one at a time as you're working, because then you don't have to be changing pliers as often. So I've got my 9 little pieces with the bends in them ready to go. Now I'm going to make the circle. I'm just going to make a little bend in the end of that, and I'm going to slide on 9 of my beads. So we have 18 beads, but we're building this in 2 halves. And I am using turquoise nuggets because I like the way that they look against this brown copper. But you can use any kind of bead that you want. Just don't use beads that are too big, because this is kind of a small design and we don't have a lot of room for all the wire and the beads once it's all together. And now I need to make this into a circle, and you can form it around something or you can just use your fingers. And then I'll bend over the other end and I'm going to hook them together, and then with the needle nose pliers I'm going to just squish down my little ends here so that my circle is joined together, and I can make any last minute changes I want to the shape of it to make it into the best circle I can possibly make. And once you're happy with your circle, we'll go ahead and start putting the other little pieces around it. So you'll hook one of those little V pieces around with a bead in the middle, and then flatten those little bends we made around the outer rim of the circle. Be careful when you do this that you can still move the little V. You want the V to be flexible, because part of the point of this mandala is that it is fluid, it moves. So we don't want to clamp down so that it is rigid. Slide a bead over next to the end of the wire you just affixed, and then center not only the new bead but also the end of the previous V within the new V, and flatten down the edges. And continue around doing the same. Be sure that as you are adding your new V's, you're going the same either over or under the previous V, so that by the time you've gone all the way around, it's uniform. It doesn't go this one over, that one under, this one over. It always goes the incoming one over, the incoming one over, the incoming one over. That is also very important to making the fluid movement that the mandala is supposed to have. Alright, I'm about to attach the last one, but before I do, I want to just go around and make sure that while I've been working, none of my other little petals have shifted, because they can just fall right through the middle and that'll mess up my over-under order. And now the last one is the most important because it will ensure the movement of the design. So I need to go over one and under the other, which can be a little tricky, but it is possible. And there is the first layer, and what it does is it all moves in unison. Now I'm going to do the second layer on this first half. It's easier if I just go ahead and collapse the layer I just did into kind of a dome. And I'm going to take 9 more of my little strips and get them ready. I'm going to bend them into little V's, and then I'll turn up the ends. Both bends do need to be in the same direction. So I like when all of my fastenings are towards the same direction, so being aware of which direction I placed my first layer on, then I'm ready to place my next layer. You make sure that there are 2 stones between each point and go ahead and clamp down. Then you can just let it collapse forward and move over 1 stone and put this on the other side of that stone, and then go to the next stone and put this on the outside of the next stone and work your way around. This time you don't have to be as concerned about your over and under, because the layer that you've already done ensures that they're not just flipping through and around and around. You just have to be careful that you don't get distracted and lose your place, because now you're looking at just a lot of little wires, and it's pretty easy if you stop in the middle, if the phone rings or you want to change a TV channel or something, that you can lose where you are, lose which direction you're wrapping, and then it just won't work. Alright, and I'm ready for the last one. So again, this one's going to be an over and under situation, so I went ahead and pulled out the layer I just did, and I'll go behind on one side and in front of on the other side. Can be a little tricky. And there is the first half of the mandala. Now make another one just like it. And once you've got 2 pieces made, you can join them together. Try and determine if one side from one of them matches more closely one side from the other one, so that they will line up pretty good. And then once you're kind of happy with how you're going to line them up, take those little strips of the 24 gauge copper wire, and you're going to wrap it around the matching points on the 2 sides. And you don't want to wrap it really tight. It needs to be flexible. So you want it tight enough that it's going to hold them in place, but not so tight that they don't move. And I like to work not going around in a circle, but kind of going diagonal across from each other, because I think it helps maintain the tension as you're working. You want to watch me wrap all 9, don't you? You want to. It's fun. I also like to flatten them, squish them together so that they're a nice compact coil. Just a few more to go. And there it is, a wire mandala. If you're going to make jewelry out of it, you can go ahead and fasten it together in a particular shape, or you can just leave it freeform and go ahead and, you know, add a wire wrap pendant as a bail, or just string it as it is. The wire mandala.